How goes the family? Welcome back to Patterson All Properties. Hopefully you guys having a great and exceptional day. All right, let's get into it. All right, so with high rents constantly on the rise across the entire United States of America, so many questions come up with so many certain areas around the country how can they counter high real estate prices and high rental prices. Came across this article the other day in a unanimous 9-0 vote. The Fisher, Indiana City Council has adopted the City of Carmel City Council's approved ordinance. So they basically have the same thing as the City of Carmel in Indiana. The approved ordinance that will limit single-family, non-owner occupied homes to just 10% per subdivision, and 10% citywide. Landlords must also register and obtain permits to contain renting in Carmel. Now, whether you agree with these measures or not, it says a lot about where we are as a society and where we, in a sense, are heading. We basically in some very, very financial troublesome times across the United States of America right now, because in a city like specifically DC, Washington DC, and specifically really New York, rent control was a normal thing because, it was the lifeline of keeping a reasonable middle class or working class within those cities. Now, a lot of those cities have abolished a lot of those programs, especially given the fact that, or if they have any specific housing programs, it basically means you have to basically be on housing assistance to where you have a job that pays you very little or you don't have a job at all in order to assist you in your living. And a lot of towns across America, because not everybody was going down south to places like Florida and Texas, specifically during the pandemic, and that to major metropolitan cities like Austin, Dallas, Houston, and Miami, and Tampa Bay, Florida. But now those cities have become overpriced. Even Atlanta, Georgia has become overpriced. Now Raleigh, Durham, and Charlotte, North Carolina have become overpriced, and Charleston, South Carolina, and Columbia, South Carolina are on their way to being gentrified cities as well. I say this to say that there used to be 10 to 20 years ago, it used to be the people who would leave California, leave New York City, leave Washington, D.C., say, oh, I have somewhere cheaper to go. Now, cheaper to go in America is basically becoming small town America, not or mid-sized city at the most, but definitely none of the major cities, because now people are moving to, specifically like nowadays, people are leaving Florida because Florida's so overpriced, and people are moving to places like Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and they don't care if they, Missouri, Kansas. They don't care if they have to deal with the cold, horrific, hellish winters of the Midwest. It's all about cost of living, because the United States of America, really any part of the world, if you can't save enough money, if you're not putting money away, and if you're not investing enough money, then you're basically financially screwed. So anyways, I digress. Now, back to the mission at hand. Now, whether you agree with the measure or not, in regards to, so basically I didn't get into what the measure was that the City of Fisher, Indiana adopted, the housing measure. It's an approved ordinance that will limit single-family, non-owner occupied homes to just 10% per subdivision and 10% citywide. Landlords must also register and obtain permits to continue renting in the town. Now, whether you agree with this measure or not, it says a lot about, like I said, where we're heading as a society. I'm repeating myself. The city's new rental ordinance is listed as follows: 10% cap, no more than 10% of homes in any of the town's subdivision can be non-owner occupied rentals. Permit required. Landlords must apply for a permit to legally rent a single family home. Exemptions includes military deployment, inherited properties, homes listed for sale more than 6 months, and a few others. Enforcement date to be determined. But Fisher's rollout begins January 1st, 2026. So it doesn't happen until next year, because I'm making this video as of July 2026. So it's supposed to happen then. And the City of Carmel will follow that timeline as well. All these things are happening because the goals are listed as such: lower home ownership rates, That's basically what's happening in these towns, and the city council, in their defense, are trying to curb people not being homeowners. Corporate investors outbidding families. This has been happening all over the country, specifically during the pandemic, to where a lot of single family neighborhoods are basically becoming home renter neighborhoods. Decreased neighborhood involvement. Basically, nowadays most people have neighborhoods, they don't have communities, to where nobody really knows each other and nobody really wants to know each other. And I'm guilty of this myself, because most of my neighbors I don't want to know either. And it seems as time goes by, people are either moving out, the ones that I did care for, or they're getting older and passing away. Wear and tear from short-term rentals. A lot of the neighborhoods can because in the last 10 years, a lot of neighborhoods have turned into short-term rentals. And this is one of the reasons why the city of Dallas voted to dismantle Airbnbs. City of Atlanta limited Airbnbs, and I believe Miami had to do the same thing, because you had whole neighborhoods turning into Airbnbs. And I love utilizing Airbnb, so I'm not gonna say anything negative about Airbnb, but it's basically, it takes away the aspect of community, because you're constantly having strangers coming in and out. But I do love the option of having an Airbnb, because I like to travel a lot, so when I go to another town, I like to do a cost analysis. Hey, what's the cheapest and most convenient? A lot of times being in Airbnb is way more comfortable than being in a hotel, and then sometimes vice versa, depending on the hotel. Being in a hotel can be way more convenient than being in an Airbnb. It's all on how you look at it. All right. Okay. So, in a lot of cities around the country are implementing measures specifically targeting / limiting short-term rentals, i.e. Airbnb. I talked about it earlier. Cities like Miami, cities like Atlanta, cities like Dallas. The article ended on this note stating that the MIBOR Realtors Association, along with multiple investors and landlord groups, have spoken out against this decision. Their concerns are listed as this: families who want to rent in good school districts may be shut out. They have a point there, because if there's not enough rental properties, then people who want to be able to rent, because some people don't want to be a homeowner. Some people actually just want to rent a single family home. One of the top real estate investors, Grant Cardone, says he doesn't own properties. He always rents places. Grandfathering is messy. What happens when a rental is sold? Good question. That's just, when a rental is sold, and that means, hey, that place, if it's sold, and that means, you killed the opportunity for an investor to purchase the property. The rules may be difficult and expensive to enforce. Now that, when it comes to anything with the government having to enforce, it's going to be expensive, but it's like anything else that the private sector creates, it's going to be expensive. So I don't see much of a point in that. Early chatter suggests the ordinance could face legal scrutiny and potential challenges. Isn't that supposed to be the American way? You're supposed to be able to challenge things that you don't specifically agree with, so I have no problem with that. But time will tell if these predictions come true. But for now, the law will be implemented fully in January 2026. And, it's like any test case, you got to see if it's going to work, see if it's not, see if you either scrap it all together or see what other provisions you can put in place in order to make it work. Because, a lot of communities like that specifically, they're losing the what they would one would like to call the viability and the beauty of the community, because of a lot of other people from other parts of the country or the world moving there. Lack of community, because that's just the thing that's happening across America anyways, more and more every day, especially in the neighborhoods that are totally rental neighborhoods, and just a lack of opportunity for people to be able to, regular everyday working people, to buy homes. So we'll see how this pans out and go from there. Don't forget, Patterson Properties. We wholesale real estate in the DMV area, Reading, Pennsylvania area, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, that whole Eastern Pennsylvania area. So check us out. Links are in the description. If you're a stock market investor, crypto investor, individual retirement account investor, don't forget to check out WEBULL, Stash, AcornsCrypto.com, Coinbase. For all those platforms, you'll be able to make some money moves. And if you want to donate to the channel, Cash App and Venmo and PayPal is in there. If you want to go to my other channel, Larry's Anything Goes LLC, I finally monetized. So if you want to become a member, do it. If you want to give a cash app, do it. It's all the same. Either way, it's always greatly appreciated. And, you know, hey, remember, in this economy, yesterday's economy and tomorrow's economy, the investors and the owners, real estate owners and the business owners are always going to profit no matter who's in the White House, governor's house, and mayor's house. All right. So do great thiefy things, like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. Make money moves so you're going to live more like a fool. It's in Spanish. Bienvenido a la vida. Welcome to the life. Remember, you can't get fired. Join the company. It's 2025. It's time if you don't. So take care.